What's up, guys? Hey, it's Matt and Christy, and we wanted to give you guys an update video. We are on our anniversary trip to Orlando, Florida to see Christy's brother and just get some time away from the kids. We're really not here to get time away from the kids, but we are getting that, and it's been really good for us. We've had a lot of time to talk and chat, and it's encouraged us and given us the margin to talk and chat with you. And we wanted to give everybody just kind of an update, because we haven't done an update video in forever on kind of...
Happy 14-year anniversary to us! This is our first long trip away since like 8 years ago when we had our first baby.
Yeah.
So cute.
We're having a lot of fun. It's been good.
It's very nice. And thanks a lot to grandparents for helping watch the kids and make that possible.
Yes, thank you for that. So basically what we've found out over the last little bit, and we found out by going to a conference at UCLA.
Fantastic.
It was. We
UCLA
learned...
Brain Tumor Convention. They do it annually. If you have a brain tumor, you should go if you're anywhere in the area, because it was hugely helpful.
Yeah, it really was. Like, we learned more in 2 days at that brain tumor conference than we had in like 19 months of me having the brain tumor. So it was really helpful.
And well put on. The doctors there are fantastic, and they just really care about everyone that they're talking to, and they share their information very well. So thank you, UCLA.
Yeah, so people often ask about my tumor type, and that had changed a few times for us, so we were a little bit unclear, but I have a diffused astrocytoma. It's a grade 2 tumor, and the grades really have to do with like how aggressive they are at killing you. But essentially that, so...
it's slow growing, it's prone to reoccurrence, but it is treatable in some terms. That's not true.
Yeah, basically the way it works is in America, the standard of care is we remove it first if we can. And so that's where I had the craniotomy, which we also found out was a lobectomy. I'll get to that. And then if they can get it all, it stops growing until it recurs and kills you, or recurs and then you do else. They also encourage you to do chemo and radiation to like freeze and or stop the bits that they missed. But then it's not as effective later if it comes back.
And that also causes some very serious side effects as far as brain damage and long-term effects. So we have chosen not to go that route.
Yeah.
Because
for now.
For now, yeah. It may come to that, but right now we would rather avoid those side effects and continue just dealing with our current side effects.
Yeah, which has been good. And you know, you've seen me learn to life slowly and better all the time. And a lot of that had to do with medications we were on. I was on an anti-seizure medicine that effectively gave me extreme bipolar, and that was super scary. We are off of that now, and we're weaning off one more, and it's, you know, same thing. Every time we go down a dose, it gets really bad for a couple weeks. So while we're on this trip, not in Orlando, but as soon as we get back to Tucson, we're going to go off my last and final pill of the one that, you know, I've been taking that I don't need. So, you know, pray for us over the next, 3 or 4 weeks, because I'll be a little bit of a basket case.
And thanks again to grandparents who will be there to support us through that change.
Yeah,
we're so grateful for both sets of parents that we have.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's that. Now, I said that I'd go back to the lobectomy. So, what the kind of brain tumor I have essentially, like, actually occupies part of your brain cells. It doesn't just push things out of the way. And so when they take it out, they take out the piece of your brain that was sort of like damaged or infected, however you want to look at it. And so that part of my brain is gone.
Part of his right temporal lobe.
Correct, yeah. Which is in charge of, you're good at this part,
higher level thinking, cognitive skills, emotional processing, social responses, auditory input. Those are the things that are most damaged in Matt's brain. That area of your brain also controls other things. Vision, which is one thing that has not been affected in him yet. Fine motor skills, which has been minorly affected in him. But the biggest things that we are seeing from Matt that we now know are a result of the lobectomy, because a part of his brain is missing, is his inability to process auditory input, difficulty listening to auditory instructions and remembering them or understanding what they mean. Also just filtering out auditory stimuli when noises or sounds or visual stimuli, motion, activity comes around him. His brain isn't able to filter through it and process it properly. Memory skills are also housed in that part of the brain, short-term memory. And we're not talking like 1 or 2 minute short-term memory, but 1 hour to 2 or 3 days kind of short-term memory. So Matt can remember and repeat back to someone something they tell him, but then an hour later he won't necessarily remember having had that conversation or having met that person or having talked through his agenda for the day.
You can imagine how that gets kind of frustrating for Christy, because our life is complicated. We have to make all these plans, and I don't know about the plans that we made. And it's like, I'm like, don't hate the player, hate the brain. But yeah, so now we know it's the brain that's to do. Yeah.
It's been very helpful for us to know that, because then we know what we have to work with. We just have to modify, our expectations and our life plans. So, I'm able to help watch over Matt and check in on him and give him one thing to do at a time, and then have him come check back in with me and rest if necessary. His stamina is also affected by that area of his brain, so the amount of activity that he can handle and the amount of input that he can handle. So, and that can range, sometimes he can participate in an activity for 30 seconds and it's too much, or sometimes he can go several hours. It depends on how much stimuli is present and what types of stimuli. Some are harder for him than others. So we're learning to work within those limits and how to help him best succeed each day and most be able to enjoy his day. And since we've learned this information and since he's been able to change his medicine, we've been working on integrating him back into family life in new ways, which has been super awesome for him and super awesome for the family. We've really missed him for the past year and a half. He has wanted to be with everyone and wanted to participate, and he just hasn't been able to. And so we're grateful for these medication changes that are enabling him to start learning to be with the family. And it's challenging for him because of his processing, disabilities.
They call them deficits.
Deficits.
Like things that are missing and you don't have and you won't get back necessarily.
It is. It's very interesting when you read it on the scans too. It talks about a hole in his brain. There's actually a cavity with nothing in it in that area of his brain.
We already knew that.
That's right. The whole thing is empty.
Brain jokes. It's okay. She can make fun of me. I won't remember it.
Oh, yeah.
I assumed you'd been doing that and I'd been forgetting.
Probably. You'll never know. All right.
So let's talk about growth.
Oh, yes. Hang on. I feel like I wasn't done with that one yet. No, that's okay. I just don't remember. It's contagious. My head is too close to yours. What were we talking about?
Careful. I'm not contagious. Oh, I see what you're saying.
What
I was.
What were we talking about?
Things are missing. It's a hole in my brain.
So Matt's been learning all over again how to integrate back into family life. And a lot of those skills were taken out when that part of his brain was taken out. And now with deficits in his cognitive and social abilities and his processing and memory skills, he's having to learn how to do things in new ways. But he's been working very hard at that, and so we're giving him things in small doses. Let's go grocery shopping for one bag of groceries, or let's take one child to his activity and then come back home and have a rest. And let's do one thing in the garage, but by yourself, not with anybody, or let's take one child with you to this activity. And it's been really great to see Matt able to integrate back in with the family. He's doing great. He's working really hard at that, and the kids are just loving having Daddy back around a little bit more than they were before, and they've gotten back to asking when we go to things, oh, is Daddy coming? Whereas they stopped asking that for a while because they knew that he wasn't. So that's been great. Our last brain scan, you want to talk about that? We had our last MRI in June.
That's right.
So this month, just I think it was the end of May. It was just 2 weeks ago. The scan came back and it showed significant growth in his tumor, which was disappointing. We have continued on our alternative remedies for treating this cancer, and it showed that some of the changes that we have made lately to save money were not effective. So our
we have some medicine that's not covered by insurance, and
our savings ran out about 9 months ago, and so we switched to a less expensive brand of this medicine and switched some other healthcare things so that we were no longer paying copays and such. And we've found that in that span of time when we switched to generic brands, that his tumor has grown by about 55%. And so we are choosing to make the switch back to what we know was working, and just trust that the Lord will provide what we need to make that happen.
Yeah.
We also, in knowing that his deficits are caused... Yeah.
Yeah, so she said I've been making progress, and I have. One of the things they talked about at the brain tumor conference was, like, you know, you can't retrain your brain because it's missing, but you can sometimes use other parts of your brain to accomplish the same deal. And so there were cool examples that don't apply to me, but one of them is that my short-term memory, basically, it doesn't know where to put it in my long-term memory, it doesn't know how to get it back out, etc. So it's very hard. But they said that visual memory is a different part of your brain, and so, you know, you can put like a label on something, and every day you look at it, and, you know, eventually you begin to know that it's there, and that that's what it is, etc. So it's kind of neat to use your visual memory to learn things. I think that's why I do really well with my, like, IB Dad fans, because I see, you know, on Facebook, I see their name and their picture together all the time. It's funny when I meet people from Instagram, they have to tell me their Instagram handle, or I don't know who they are, even though I often have had numerous conversations with them. But anyway, so we're learning about visual, but we found a guy who does like this same thing. He said he's the only guy in the country that does this brain retraining thing. Now, we didn't hear about it from him. We heard about it from a guy at our brain tumor support group who
uses him.
Yeah, but he literally had the same story as me if I hadn't found it for 10 years. I mean, it was like the way he was describing, like, the way his life was escalating. He was
his initial symptoms.
Yeah, his initial symptoms, and how he was treating it with caffeine. I was drinking like a 2-liter of Coke myself every 30 hours. He was living on Monsters and just becoming like irrational and having nervous breakdowns. All the same stuff that was happening to me, but then it got way worse for him.
Before they found
and they found out there were 4 in there and all this stuff. But anyways,
his was also in the same lobe of the brain.
Same lobe of the brain, right? So the same kind of effects. It was just like, oh my gosh. But him and his mom were telling us about this guy in Oceanside that does this brain retraining therapy. Encinitas, sorry. And he's great. We called him and he sounds awesome. It's $200 a session, which sucks, and plus the gas to get up there and back. And it's not covered by insurance. But we believe he will, and we're stoked about that. And I'm really excited to try it. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. That's a good way to do it. Yeah. Yes. So I'm excited to try new things that I think. So that starts in July.
So you can wait and see what new skills Matt comes up with. Should be fun.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I'll do new tricks.
New tricks. Yeah. That's right. They'll give you new doggy treats.
Yeah.
That are keto.
Better keto. Yeah, I'm all about that ketogenic diet. I'll tell you what that is real quick. The idea of that diet, okay, lots of people do it for weight loss and stuff that, whatever. But when you're doing it to save your life, the idea is that cancer cells, we know this, love sugar. Like, that's what they metabolize on, grow, reproduce in, etc. So what if you had a diet that didn't have any of that and that starved your body of even carbohydrates that could turn into sugar? What would happen? And that's kind of the question that everyone's trying to figure out. What's interesting, and that we learned this at the conference, that in children it's been shown to stop or shrink tumors. However, in adults it's been shown to be irrelevant because 90% of them quit the diet before they see, before the study is over, which is funny. But I've been on it for like 2 straight years now, almost.
A year and 4 months.
Year and a half. That's right, because we didn't start right away. But like, no cheating, I'm 100% on it. So like, I'm a Terminator robot when it comes to diet, and it was good to hear at the conference that can be a thing.
Yep, that has been scientifically proven to be effective in certain cases.
Yeah.
So we're sticking with that. We're continuing to do exactly what the doctor told us as far as diet regimen, and Matt's doing a great job sticking with it.
Yeah, things
We've
you
been
could
talking
pray
for a long time.
Hang on,
so
things you could pray for are we're seeing some new doctors because we had some stuff switch and whatever. We're finally getting a new medical team, and that's really good news. We're going to be at UC San Diego.
And so pray for discernment as we meet with those doctors and select if they're a part of our team or not, and for continued effectiveness in getting through the insurance system to getting the appointments that we need.
Yeah.
It's a good prayer.
Yeah, that's good.
Second prayer, pray for the children as they adapt to their new school routine after the summer. We're excited for some of the upcoming schooling things that are happening for them. Pray for Matt as he embarks on this brain retaining therapy and the return to our older medicine that we were using. Pray that the tumor starts shrinking, or at least stops growing.
Yeah, for sure.
Those are our big prayers for now.
I think that's it, yeah.
Pray for our marriage, that we continue to bond together as we fight this thing together, and that we're able to attack this adventure of a life that we've chosen together.
Yeah.
thank you so much for those of you who pray for us faithfully and those of you who help support us as well. We are so touched by just many of you who have stood by our side for this long journey, and we know we're not alone. If you're interested in helping support us, please pray for us. Also, we have a GoFundMe account that will help cover some of Matt's treatments, and you can find that link here.
Yeah, I'll put it on the screen. If you Google Matt Henry Stoked Over Cancer, it will come up, and
yes.
That's the GoFundMe link, which is really helpful to us and all that stuff. But honestly, just you guys being there for me, I mean, you know how social I've been my whole life, and so to be unable to be in public environments and you know, just have so much weird neurological stuff with people, especially people I used to know, it's just so frustrating. I know you miss me, I miss you guys too, and I will say that this prayer page is amazing because, you know, I throw up some pretty vulnerable stuff up there, and you guys are quick to encourage me, quick to be praying for me. You're always taking good care of my wife, which makes me happy. So we love you guys. Thank you so much for
thank you. This has been a very meaningful friend network for Matt, and in the face of all of the loss that he's had from his social capacities, this means the world to him. So thank you to everyone who's a friend here. All right,
and God's good. He's rebuilding a good life in me and in us.
That's good. Totally. He's faithful. Bye.
I love you. Bye. I love you guys too.
Over. Bye.